What's up, Internet? Day 2 of harvest is in the books, and I took it pretty light today, to be honest. I put in way too many hours on launch day, so I didn't get nearly as much done as I probably would have otherwise. Got up to like 82, pretty much nowhere in the atlas. I think we've got 2 stones and a couple maps before we get our third. We did do some pretty decent gear upgrades today just because we had like a tabula drop and a bunch of currency dropped in Delve after stream. But nothing amazing. Like we just upgraded to some passable wands. This was a pretty decent deal for like 1 chaos. This was like a 1 or a 2 chaos wand as well. I took this one more for the proj speed because I still didn't have any GCPs at the time to dump into freezing pulse. I have since dumped a bunch into it. So between these two, we picked up a bunch of proj speed. I picked up like a 1 or 2 chaos amulet. Threw some clear oils on it to get alacrity for the 30 dex. This was another maybe like 2C item. Just something that had an open suffix, so I could put dexterity, and if I had to, I could... the same with the amulet, right? Put dexterity on both, because I don't currently need the resist, but, you know, if we change the gloves and we need more resist, we have some open suffixes to play with. We added the Wise Oak, too. And, I'm adding a Vol Grace. I just put this on. Probably won't keep it. It'll probably wind up being Vol Haste or Vol Righteous Fire, but I don't have either of those gems yet. I didn't feel like trading for them. Mostly what I've been doing is still mucking about with my with my farm. I'm enjoying the heck out of this league mechanic. Why don't we walk and talk here a little bit? This is just one of the maps that I haven't checked off yet. I think right about now, yeah, I'm around like 90k per totem with everything up, like Arcane Surge and stuff. And nothing, you know, everything's been smooth like usual. You know, Freezing Pulse has never had too much of an issue with this early map progression. What I'm planning on doing right now is picking up... I hate how much space this occupies on this screen anymore. Anyway, I'm picking up the 3-point jewel socket up north where we usually jump into our clusters. And I'm going to just drop a totem cluster in there that I picked up for a few chaos. That can go up to level 7. And I'm going to do the Sleepless Sentries plan, and we will we'll go pick up Glancing Blows after that and start seeing how that feels. Around that time, it'll be like, what, 5 levels before I can do that in total. So hopefully, I'm sure, you know, we'll have the spare chaos to pick up a roomies. It'll probably be around 15 to 20 chaos by then, you know, tomorrow evening sometime. This doesn't go up. This does go up. That can go up. And that can go up. When we come across our seed cache here, I'll show you the farm progression because that has been working out great. The harvest crafts have proven insanely valuable so far, besides just 5 linking my chest like immediately, which was a huge boon. We've been able to do some other pretty cool stuff with it. So one of the things we managed to do is pick up this horticrafting station. And this thing is pretty cool. It allows you to store crafts up to 3 per station. And you have to pay for the craft up front. So what you do is you would grab this station, and you can pick it up and move it after it has crafts, right? And you put it somewhere near your collector, and then you want to connect it via pylon to the collector that has the crafts you want to save. And after you do that, in the crafting menu, when you actually target a craft, you'll see an option on the left to instead send it to your horticrafting bench. So you basically pay up front whatever the cost is. And so now it doesn't cost me anything to use this because I've already paid for it. And this seems to be indefinite. You can move it around. You can dump one of the crafts. I just put on here in case anybody needed 5 links in chat. But so I kind of went through on the plan I was talking about earlier. Somebody had posted, well, a few people now have posted different like spreadsheets and Google Drive documents about different layouts, and this one was pretty close to the one that I was talking about yesterday anyway, which was sort of reserving this whole southern area down here for tier 1s, and then there's one up here in the top left, which is my purple tier 1 section, and a bunch of storage for that. And then we're routing pylons out of these areas to a set of collectors, one of each color. And this is where I'm doing all of my tier 2 and tier 3 crafting right now. We might wind up splitting tier 3 off over here and doing the same setup here, and just doing like tier 3s with whatever tier 2s I need maybe to enable a craft. And then I'll probably save this area up here for anything higher end that shows up, you know. I don't know how hard it's going to be to grow the tier 4s, but we'll probably want them to have their own dedicated space, so there's room to actually fight a boss or something. And this seems like a pretty large plot for that. So one of the things that we had earlier from, was a tier 2 yellow, I believe. I think, you know, it's pretty common, right? These ones here. This is life modifiers, life modifiers. These here, these attack modifier crafting effects. It's worth noting that those work on cluster jewels. And so if you want to roll, I wish I could access my stash in here. I guess we'll show that more clearly back in the hideout. But the Sleepless Centuries mod in the medium cluster jewels for totems is classified as an attack mod for grouping purposes. And so you can use that yellow, it's a tier 1 craft, so you can get a bunch of them, and they only cost like 20 life force or 30 life force or something like that. And it weights the attack mods pretty heavily. And so it didn't take me very long. It was all in one set of harvesting that I was able to craft a Sleepless Centuries Ancestral Echo 1 jewel socket medium. I think in total it cost me maybe like 150 life force out of the pool. And those tier 2 harvests, when you have like 3 or 4 tier 2, or especially if you have a tier 3 in that harvest, you know, you'll easily end up with over 1,000 life force a lot of the time. That can go up. But yeah, current plan is we're gonna go into Glancing Blows here. It'll be before level 90 at this point. I want to say it'll probably be like 86. And then we'll go back into the medium cluster and pick up our jewel. Probably attach it to a 2 or 3 point small for now. I'm not sure it's going to be as easy to roll the large cold cluster this league because, you know, all the weightings have changed. And some of them are pretty awful. Like Blanketed Snow, for example, in the large cold clusters is now like 90 weighting or something, which is bad. Like the lower the weighting, the worse it is. And it's also, you know, considering it's a cold cluster, most of the mods in that pool are also tagged cold. So it's going to be harder to do the harvest bench crafting with that because there's so many other cold mods that are also going to get weighted that you're not going to want. It's not that way with the totem mediums. Right? Like Ancestral Echo, I don't think is an attack. There's a bunch of them that are either tagged caster or untagged in the totem. And so it was much faster to craft this. We even got +2 elemental res, I forgot. So that'll be a pretty nice jewel. We'll come up here. We're going to immediately take Sleepless Centuries and then come back for Glancing Blows. And around that time, you know, I think we should have enough currency to pick up a Rumi's Concoction and replace this silver flask with it. Otherwise, you know, we're still in the same standard skill tree. The rest is going to be about Atlas progression so we can farm some more currency. Probably adding some Delve progression into there. Delve is not my favorite thing to do in this game, but it's certainly profitable. So probably start squeezing that in there and also developing our Betrayal a little bit more so we can try to start pulling currency out of that. Yeah, that's where we're at anyway. hopefully the Harvest League is going as well for you guys as it is for me. I'm really enjoying it. I feel like this is going to be one of my favorite leagues in the long run. It's nice. I think it's just nice that Delirium is not the main league mechanic. So we can hit the Delirium mirrors and then take a break, do some gardening, do some regular maps, and remember what regular map difficulty is supposed to feel like, and then it all balances out a little bit better. One thing I did want to mention before I wrap this video, a lot of people are still contacting me about the Path of Building link in my guide. I know that the regular Path of Building had an update earlier today, or maybe it was last night. You want to make sure to have your Path of Building updated, but if it's still not working, I would encourage you to switch to the Path of Building community fork, which is basically a edited version of Path of Building that is maintained by community members, and it is updated much faster than the regular Path of Building because OpenRL, the guy who made Path of Building and updates it, he works at Grinding Gear Games now. They hired him directly, and he doesn't have time usually to update that program with the kind of speed that he'd like to, and certainly not as thoroughly as he'd like to. You know, there's a lot of features that I'm not sure even still work, like impale, damage calculations, and things like that. And a lot of the newer items don't actually get built into Path of Building for quite a while. But the community fork, there's a bunch of people contributing to it and checking their work, and most of those features are fully enabled. So if you switch to the Path of Building community fork, you're usually not going to run into this issue because build makers pretty much all run the community fork to make sure that we can have, correct Path of Building calculations for some newer items and things like that. So if you're still having that issue, I'd first update the regular Path of Building if you don't feel like switching, but if it's still giving you issues, then I would bite the bullet and just download the community fork. I'll put a link to the GitHub page for the community fork of Path of Building. It's worth switching. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you guys want to come by and ask me any of the questions, I'll be streaming a bunch of this league at twitch.tv/WallachTV. Until next time, guys. Peace.